So, anyway, thanks for joining us. This is, of course, 10 ways to use social media to drive traffic, get more leads, and close more sales at trade shows. I'm Tim Patterson, and we have two companies, Roger and I. Roger Pike is a co-owner of Communication One Exhibits and Communication Steroids. We've done a lot of training and speaking. We've done social media boot camps. We did one in Houston last year. That was a lot of fun for 2020 exhibits. We've done a lot of local training as well, social media research. Yeah, we did a large project, a 9-month ongoing project that just was listening to what was going on in social media. So I was interested in social media, even before it was called social media, back when they used to call it Web 2.0, and they're trying to figure out, what the Web 2.0 meant back in like 2005, 2006. I'm an old radio guy. I spent 25 plus years in radio, starting back in mid 70s. So yeah, we go back quite a ways. But I've been in the trade show industry for 10 years plus, and was VP of Sales and Marketing here in Salem, Oregon, for a company called Interpretive Exhibits. And they closed a year ago when the owner decided to retire. Imagine that. And so that left me with an interesting decision. How should I move forward? And I had a number of clients that still wanted me to work with them, so I just took a leap. They say if you leap off the cliff, you'll find wings before you hit the bottom, right? And that's what we're doing. So we've got a lot of stuff going on, and it seems to be working just fine. Now, when I contacted Lori Hankin of Total Displays, I said, I'd love to do a webinar. I have this really neat product. It's a membership website that I want to get out in the marketplace. And so she thought it was intriguing. We got to talking and decided to schedule this webinar for two reasons. Number one, because I love sharing information, and we're going to give you a lot of really good, useful information here before the next 45 minutes or so are up. And the other thing is, at the end of this, we'll make a pitch, and it'll be about the membership site. It'll have which we'll get to when we get there. But if you're welcome, if you feel like joining us at that point, great. If not, I hope you had a good time and hope you learned something, and we'll just go our separate ways as friends. So. Let's get started. It's a little after 9 o'clock. Again, using social media to drive traffic and get more leads and close more sales at trade shows. And I will tell you that some of these things are not strictly social media, but there's a social media component to them. So first thing I want to mention, of course, is that events are very social. They are just, this is where people get together. And this is where they do things. And they do things in big ways. This picture, by the way, that you're seeing in front of you was taken at I think it was Outdoor Retailer 2010 in Salt Lake City, where every afternoon about an hour before the show closes, about half the exhibitors bring out a beer keg. And so you can look close and see that a lot of people are having beers and having a good time. But this is social, and people were connecting like crazy on social media. So I really like about social media and events is that it's almost like they were made for each other. An event is a very short period of time where there's a lot of connecting going on. There's a lot of sharing of information, like, give me your card, let me find out about you. But social media has made that such enhanced. And, I remember at the very beginning of social media and trade show marketing and how would they work together, and I heard a lot of comments, it'll make in-person events superfluous. People can just do this all online. And I beg to differ. I beg to disagree, because I think that social media is perfect for events for a number of reasons, and we'll get into that as we move forward.
I've been to several social functions, and the matter is, you're absolutely right. Trade shows are tailor-made for it, if only because you can tell people who you aren't right next to what it is that you're doing and seeing. And that's an incredible thing. If you run across an exhibit, for example, that really excites you, you can let everybody in your Twitterverse know it, and know it instantly.
Well, if there's an event, like there's a guest star or something, a famous face, we'll talk about famous faces here in a moment, appears at a booth, and you want your buddy who's across the trade show floor to know about it, you can send them a tweet or a text or whatever to let them know about it. You can share that on your platform. You can share that on your Facebook platform or Twitter, wherever you'd like. So we want to start with a number of things that we think are very, very important. Blogging is really probably one of the keys if you're going to be online and you're going to get involved in social media. Blogging is key for a number of reasons. Number one, of course, is you own it. It is yours. You control the look of it. It is not anybody else's platform. Blogging is one of those things you really have to strongly consider before you get involved, because it does take time, it does take effort, and you've got to have people appointed to do the right thing to make sure that all your information is getting out there and what kind of information that is, and you have consistent information showing up online on your blog. But it's different than Facebook or YouTube or Twitter because those platforms are owned by other companies, and you own your blog. You control everything about it. You can't control what Facebook does. They'll change the rules on you, and all of a sudden people aren't looking at your page that you thought they were. Twitter, things can change, and it's hard to get things out. And accounts can be canceled, and you have to go back and argue with the company and say, hey, I really didn't do what you think I did. I've seen it happen to a lot of people. So a blog is really important because you own it. And we've done, in fact, I've done entire, hour and a half, 2 hour sessions on blogging. I could do a whole day on blogging, but I think the most important thing is you own it. The second thing is when you're out there and you're trying to figure out what goes on your blog, well, it's not a PR platform. You're not there to tell your audience about the new promotion that the president got or the new product you've got, although you can certainly blog about a product, but it's not there to toot your own horn because no one wants to hear you toot your own horn. What they want to do is have you solve a problem. They want to see you share information. They want to see what kind of thoughts you have in the marketplace. If you look at a popular blog and you can see how many readers there and how many people interact, they're not talking about themselves. They're talking about issues that are important to their readers.
If you treat your blog as though it were a storefront window in which you offer your latest sales half off, then people are just going to skip over you. You want them to read you, and the way you get them to read you is by exactly what you said, solving problems. And you can certainly indicate that in the solution you have a product that might help, but your primary purpose is to find out through your blog what your potential clients' pain points are and help them alleviate them.
So moving from blogging, and again, I could talk about that for for a day. It's a lot of fun. But I will tell you one more final note on blogging is that if you're going to consider a blog, it's really a commitment, and you've got to say, okay, I'm going to do 3 posts a week, or 3 a month, or 2 a month, or whatever the number is. Make a commitment. You don't have to have something there every day, but you got to have something there regularly. So if you have a blog that you have 3 posts on in the first month, and you go, oh, that's great, and then the next post comes 6 months later, the people that arrived in the 5 months prior to that will look at it and say, there's nothing going on here. Why should I ever come back?
Which reminds me, I need to post on our blog.
Yes, the Trade Show Guy blog is the one that I'm quite active on. Our Communication Steroids blog has got a podcast on a regular basis, but not as many blog posts as we like. It is not that easy to maintain a really good blog, but if you can, it is extremely valuable. In fact, I just got a brand new, we got a project from a blog that from our blog that we just nailed down yesterday, and we're sending out an invoice today for a huge project we're doing. Well, we think it'll be a huge project. Came about just because someone discovered our blog. So that can happen. People can notice you from your blog. So let's talk about Twitter. Of course, Twitter exploded several years ago. I think it's 5.5 years old now. I think it came around in 2007. And for a long time, people didn't even know what it was. They had a hard time figuring out what Twitter was. Twitter is where news breaks, things happen fast, conversation goes around the world instantaneously. You may remember the live tweeting of the plane that landed in the Hudson a couple of years ago. News breaks. It happens very, very quickly. But you can follow conversations using hashtags, and again, we get into that on the membership side on how all of this stuff works. If you're not familiar with Twitter, we teach you how all that works. But you can follow conversations. I was at an event in Portland over the weekend, here in Oregon, called the World Domination Summit, and there was 1,000 people there, speakers for 2 days, parties at night, all this great fun stuff happening, and you could follow the conversation on Twitter, hundreds, if not thousands of Twitters, by just following the hashtag WDS. In fact, if you go to Twitter now and look at and search WDS, you'll still find dozens and dozens of tweets a day. People are still conversing about the weekend they had days later. So, number one, you can also use it for monitoring for questions and comments. My favorite story is about a guy who was monitoring Twitter. He had a company that provided telephone systems for companies, and he saw a comment that someone had said, yeah, I had a guy coming over to a bid on a phone system, but he hasn't showed up. And so he tweeted back to this guy, I'm actually in the area. I'd be willing to help you if you want me to help. And as a result of that connection, he went and sold a $250,000 phone system, business phone system. So he was monitoring. He was taking a look at that. He tracked it through using keywords that he was looking for. How do you find what those questions are? How do you find what people are talking about? Because people will complain about things on Twitter, and if you can monitor those outlets, Twitter, for questions and comments, you can respond and get to be known as someone who's very active there and is a source, an industry leader, someone who is leading the way there.
Is there a show these days that doesn't offer a hashtag for its show as a whole?
Exactly. I mean, it's kind of funny. 3 or 4 years ago, when you first started seeing, CNN or the news outlets putting hashtags on, follow us at so and so, and they're on Twitter. Now it's a very common thing. You still find people who don't know what Twitter is, don't or they know about it, but they don't know how how does it affect me? They're not on it. They don't do it. There's a lot there. It's actually a fun platform. I spend maybe 10 or 15 minutes a day, and I'll tell you that in just a minute how we do that. But if you see something on Twitter, don't just sit there and go ask the boss if you could do that and respond. It needs to be responded to promptly because other people are responding. There's an ongoing conversation that goes on Twitter. Oh, by the way, I did see a note here. Someone said, we'll be provided an outline, or should I take notes? I would say you should take notes. We are recording this, and we will post the recording once this is all done. So feel free to sit back and take notes if you'd like, but we'll make the recording available for all of you out there. So I just want to mention that. I spend 10 minutes, maybe twice a day. I mean, they're in the morning, they're in the afternoon, almost every day. There are days when I'm not there at all, and there are days when I'm there several times. But generally speaking, 10 to 20 minutes a day is all you need on Twitter. It's not a time suck. You can let it be, but you don't have to let it be. I also set up my smartphone, so if someone sends a tweet to Trade Show Guy, I get a little ping on my smartphone, and I know that someone's asking me a question or responding to or making a comment, and so I can get back to them right away. So I think there's a lot of tools that can be used to make it easy to know what's going on and to not let stuff slip away. So that's just one of the things about Twitter. I love Twitter. It's a lot of fun, and I've learned how to use it without making it a big time suck.
Well, I don't spend as much time on Twitter as I used to, but I do look in on it every day. Back when we were doing the social media monitoring project, I was on Twitter a lot.
Yes, you were, yeah.
Because it had by and large replaced all of the social media research tools that I had used before. I discovered that the engineers who worked in the field that I was monitoring were all in the Twitterverse, and they would all post links to the articles that they were reading or the work that they were doing. So I was able to, by following them and by following the organizations that they belonged to, the professional organizations, I was able to, by and large, find everything that I needed with regards to following social media in their field.
Yeah, there's little clicks that hang out on Twitter that if you can find access to them by the hashtag, and that's really how you find those things. Because if you don't know how to narrow that down and focus and search and filter, then it just becomes this just giant mess that's kind of hard to understand. It can be very chaotic, especially if you follow 4,000 or 5,000 people like I do. But if you can filter it down and say, I'm just going to follow this particular hashtag for an hour because there's a chat going on, you can get involved in a lot of stuff, and it can be a lot of fun, a lot of usefulness going on there. So the next platform, of course, is Facebook, the one that now has almost, 900 million people now have accounts at Facebook. It's getting to be about a fifth or a sixth of the planet right now have accounts on Facebook. People spend an inordinate amount of time there. It's quite amazing when you look at the statistics. I'm not going to go over them, but they are phenomenal. How much time people spend there daily, how many photos are shared by the billions. So it is really a big hangout, and businesses have discovered for the last couple of years that you can get a lot of traction out of Facebook. So let's go over some of the key points. Number one, it's one of the best platforms for sharing and for interacting with your audience. One of my favorite examples is a former client of mine, and probably a future client. We haven't done any work for them for a while, out of Eugene, Oregon, called Mountain Rose Herbs, and they have grown their Facebook following to, I think it's 50, 60,000 people right now. It's grown quite quickly because they learn how to interact and they promote it really well, and they get a lot of traction out there. They do things like answer questions, they ask questions, they do polls, they do special sales, and And it's just a great platform. They've got someone in their shop that knows how to use it, knows how to interact, and spends a lot of time there. They've used it as a source of very valuable information and sales.
The good thing about Facebook is all of the tools that you need in order to interact effectively are built in. Once you have established your business Facebook account, it's easy to upload photos and videos. It's easy to make comments. It's easy to track what it is that you need to track because they've done all the work for you. And that's, for me, the best thing about it is the ease of use.
I think when it comes to Facebook, be active, but on the flip side of that, don't obsess about it. It can be one of those things that you spend too much time on, and because you're following little bunnies, oh, that was a cool little article that I saw, and next thing you know, you're like 7 steps away. It's like the 7 degrees of separation, and you lost track where you were. So it does take some focus, but I think it's important to be active and make sure you're on Facebook. If you have a business page there for your platform, monitor it regularly. So if there's a question that comes up or a comment, make sure that you acknowledge a comment by saying thanks, appreciate it, or if someone has a question, get back to them right away. So it does take some time to do that. Again, it kind of goes with the second part, be active, but don't obsess, but you've got to know what's going on there. So when a question comes up, answer it as best you can, as quickly as you can. This is a great way, by the way, if there's something negative comes up and if you don't respond, then it can spool into some negative publicity, which has happened to a lot of companies over the years. Responding and being proactive about those types of situations is very, very important, and it also is very important when you're at a trade show by being able to post photos. I've gotten great traction out of being at one of my favorite shows, which I go to every year, which is the Natural Products Expo West down in Anaheim, posting pictures, going to booths, posting it on my Facebook page, my business page, which is Trade Show Guy blog, and then getting the reaction. And it's just people love to share, and it just gets you known. It's a great brand building source.
And in a trade show context, I know that you've used Facebook to build buzz.
Oh yeah.
Posting videos, for example, weeks before the event, of preparations for the event, for example.
Yeah, and because you can set things up and do teaser videos, it's a great way not only through Facebook but through the blog, and you can tweet it out as well. It's just a terrific, the combination of those three, those are probably the biggest three, your blog, Facebook, and Twitter. YouTube is a good platform. We'll talk about YouTube in a minute, but that's more of a utility than a platform, because anything you put on YouTube you can post on your blog or on Facebook, and so people really aren't going to YouTube for that as much. They're going there for other things. There's certainly billions of eyeballs there, but you can use it as a utility to post your videos elsewhere, and we'll talk about video posting as well. In fact, that's next, video sharing.
How convenient.
I love video. Video's fun. I got a flip video camera here a couple of years ago. Then I upgraded it. I got one of the new flips, and then of course, as soon as I did that, flip decided to close down. Cisco said we're going to do something else. But the new smartphones have high def video on it with good audio that is quite sufficient for anything you want to do. The barrier, the bar that was really high for video just 5 years ago has come down so far. Software to edit and produce and render video has gotten a whole lot cheaper. I think under $100 you can get some really good software that does that. So video sharing is what we're going to talk about here for a few minutes. Video is great. There's a few things to keep in mind, though, when it comes to video. And I think the number one thing is, boy, you got to keep it short. People have very short attention spans. I saw just research here last week. They've been doing research on kids' attention spans. And 10 years ago, when a kid was focused on something, whether in school or whether at home playing a game, their attention span was 12 minutes. That was a decade ago. Right now, the same situation with the research they did, their attention span is now down to about 5 minutes. So,
and that's something that's interactive. That's something that where it's caught their interest to begin with.
Yeah.
I mean, I used to be a newsman. I was a radio newsman, and the rule of thumb for what they call an actuality, which is a comment made by a newsmaker inside of a story, audio from the newsmaker, is that you can make it as short as 6 seconds. If you make it longer than 12 seconds, you've lost your audience's attention. Now, that's not the same with video.
Yeah.
But even so, the point is keep it short.
Yeah, and keep it short can mean different things, relatively speaking. I think the second part of keep it short is it important? Is it compelling? Is it fun? Short to some people is 20 seconds. Short to some people is 10 minutes. My rule of thumb is try and keep it under 2 minutes. I'm looking at 90 seconds to 120 seconds. If I'm going to do a quick little video of something, sometimes it gets to be 3 minutes. I'm asking a lot if it's over 3 minutes for someone to watch.
Well, how long should your speech be? Well, as long as it's still interesting.
As long as it's necessary to get all the information in and not a second longer.
Not 1 second longer.
Keep your topic to a single point. Don't try and put a whole lot of things in there. Now, there are certainly different platforms and different reasons, but if you're inviting people to a blog or you're putting something on Facebook and you want to share something from your trade show booth, a single topic is really all that's necessary. Obviously on a webinar, we're doing a lot of stuff, but it's all under the one umbrella. It's a longer thing. I'm going to post this probably on our YouTube channel as well, just so that people can see it. But it's still that single topic. So keep your topic to a single point and get to the point and don't waste time. I hate it when I see a 2-minute video that could have been shared in 20 seconds. They get a minute and 40 seconds talking about himself or talking about his company or talking about something else that was irrelevant to the point that he was making. So keep it short and keep it to a single point and no extra material in there. And finally, once you've got it up there, share it. Let people know about it in many different ways. Send out 15 tweets about it if it's a great video. Send out 5 if it's not that great. Because the interesting thing about Twitter, if you're sharing on Twitter, is that most people will not see a single tweet. If you send it out 5 or 10 times, change the language on a little bit, but you're still sending out people to the same link. More people will see it, and the chances of them sharing it with their followers also are bigger. So share, and we'll know about it.
There's even software, there's even tools that will allow you to share something several times without having to type it in several times.
Exactly. So what is next? Well, we move on to some in-booth stuff like contests and being clever. Boy, I kind of think they go hand in hand because a good contest does have some cleverness built into it. And I think the key here is keep it relevant. When you're doing contests, contests are great for social media because you can put on your Facebook and your Twitter accounts, hey, I've got a great contest. It's going in the booth today. First person to come by to do such and such wins, or we've got someone, whatever the contest is, but you got to make sure it's relevant. So many times I've seen the Fish Bowl, put a business card in, win an iPad. 5 years ago it was win an iPod. But it's not relevant. You're getting a bowl full of business cards that are not leads. Don't give them to your sales staff and say, hey, leads, because they're not, because they'll call the first 5 people and find out that none of them care about what you were trying to sell. They just wanted the free iPad. So it's got to be relevant. And set the bar a little higher than just a business card. I always like it when you do a contest and you have to have people do something and qualify them. If you're selling a service that is working with people that show you how high-end software works or something, make it relevant to that. If you're selling a food product, make it relevant to that as best you can. That way, you're filtering out the people that are unqualified, and you're drawing people in that are qualified for your product. And they become stronger, least modest leads. They may not be hot leads, because the hot leads are different. The hot leads are the people that say, I really like what you got. You got to call me. Those are the hot leads. The moderate leads are ones that say, I'm interested. Put me on your email list or something. And this may be how you do this. Relevancy and judging of the leads. You don't have to give away big things. Nothing wrong with giving away a small prize. You can give away, a $50 gift certificate to a restaurant or something like that. $10 gift certificate, coffee cards. I found coffee cards. Starbucks coffee cards are a really fun prize to give away because people love to consume coffee. I mean, who doesn't, right?
Well, I do.
He's got his cup there, and I've got mine there. It's a Beatles love cup. What can I say?
Oh, my God, no.
I know. Best band ever. So anyway, small prizes are fine, and make sure people know about it in your tweets. You can also do activities or demos. This is kind of not on the contest side, but cleverness side. There's a friend of mine down in San Francisco who his main job is going around to trade shows and doing in-booth demos, and he's very good. He's exciting to see. He does magic and things like that. But he draws people in, and he makes a whole presentation that explains the service or the product that he's there to demonstrate and activity that's involved with that. So if you can get people to get hands-on or listen to something for 4 to 5 minutes, I think that's very, very worthwhile to let people know about it through social media, using contests and some clever way to get people involved. One of the other things which we kind of hinted at the very beginning is famous faces. By the way, can anybody recognize that?
Go ahead. Go ahead. I couldn't.
You didn't know who that was, did you?
I didn't. I got it wrong.
Okay.
Come on now. Tell us who it is. No? Nobody? Yes, well, I didn't get it either.
Yeah. Let's see. Maybe I've got the wrong thing here. Hang on. Hang on. Actually, it's Jack Benny. I gave it away. Famous faces in your booth actually draw people. I've seen it many times. I'm talking about perhaps an author in your industry. Maybe not be actually an employee of the company, but he's written a book that's relevant to your industry. You might hire him for a couple hours. He can promote his book. You can bring people into your booth. You can promote those things. Again, it's all about relevancy. Don't just have Tom Cruise come by, because you're going to have thousands of Tom Cruise fans, but they don't care about your product. So make it relevant to your product. Famous faces, though, are a great way to get people to come to your booth, and tweeting about it. And when you're there, of course, you take pictures, you take video, you put it on Facebook, you put it on YouTube, you put it on your blog. So famous faces are fun, because I think the great thing about having famous faces in your booth is that that's material that lasts for a while past the show. Especially if you do a blog post, say 4 or 5 weeks later, you say, "Oh, by the way, we got some outtakes footage of when the author came by, or the speaker, the professional speaker, whoever that may be, your famous face. You can use that later, and it's great relevancy. Famous face is a way to attract people. If the name is famous in your industry, no one else outside of your industry may know who this guy is, but if he's got some credible, some cred in your industry, it's going to draw people. And again, you have to tell people
Make
about it
high-end telescopes,
ahead of time.
bring in Sagan.
Carl Sagan. Be kind of, never mind. He's dead, right?
Oh, I think so, yeah.
Yeah, okay. Well, there's other famous astronomers that are not. So. The other thing to consider about famous faces is you got to hire them. And if it fits into your budget, great. If not, maybe that's something you don't want to do. But that's also certainly a factor when it comes to all that. But I think famous faces are something that you should strongly consider when it comes to drawing people to your booth using social media. This is the kind of thing you can put press releases out ahead of time. And press releases online is a great way that people can find you. Because what happens is when you put a press release out online with keywords in it and times and places, people will find that by searching. A lot of, depending on how you do it, and there's a lot to doing press releases online, but they stay there. People remember that. They can find you. News organizations will find you. They'll write about it. So do press releases. That's you got to promote this ahead of time through social media and your more traditional factors as well. So sharing images. I think this is fun. I'm talking about after you've got all your platforms set up and you want to take pictures. I think it's a great idea to share all sorts of images that you can from the show floor, and you can take pictures of visitors and clients. You can we talked about videos, testimonials of clients, talking about how great your product or service is. Those are very important. Any floor action, if you've got, let's say you've purchased a banner space in front, at the entrance to something, take a picture of that, put it up on Twitter, and say, hey, look at this. This is our banner. Find us in booth so and so. These things help to build a little buzz about your booth. They help to show people that you're active there. It all goes back to we are active at this particular show, and we are going to continue to be active after the show. It takes some time and effort to do that, but you can get people involved. Take pictures of visitors and clients, anything going on there. Of course, don't post it. You may accidentally get a couple of pictures along the way of something that may be a little compromising. I'll tell you a story. One of our partners that we've worked with in the past on stuff, it runs a big ad agency, marketing agency in Portland, and he was telling me how so many pictures that people take at these things get posted online. He says they did an after-event little get-together where they were, drinking brandy and smoking cigars, and there was someone that wanted to take pictures. I really prefer that any pictures you post don't include me smoking a cigar and drinking a brandy. Not that it's that big of a deal, but that was his preference. Mm-hmm. And not that it was compromising, but you got to take that into consideration, what is appropriate as you're posting pictures. And so make them as benign as possible, smiling faces like these two ladies here. I mean, those are the pictures that you want to post so that people you can see they're having fun. I mean, that's really what it boils down to. So they're compromising.
Any picture you post is a representation of your company. It's on your Facebook page. It's in your blog. When you post it, it becomes the face of your company. There are certain things you just want to remember about pictures. Get the lighting right, and by that I just mean don't post a muddled picture. People don't want to have to try and figure out what it's a picture of. So lighting, contrast. I mean, post decent pictures.
It's got to be in focus. Yeah,
exactly. Yeah, like the one that's in the image that you're seeing now.
Exactly. And of course, the other thing about photos is when you post them, chances are they will get shared by other people.
Along.
They'll get tagged. If you post a picture of, if you're at a booth and you post a picture, which I've done many, many times, I go there and say, hey, can I take your picture and post it? So great. So they go back, they tag themselves, they share it on their timeline, and this has happened. I mentioned this. I took some pictures at this Mountain Rose Herb booth a couple of years ago, and at the point they had 25,000 followers. The picture I posted on my Facebook page, they reposted on their Facebook page. Another possible 25,000 people saw this picture that had their smiling faces that I took and saw my name attached to that.
Who is that guy that has like 1 billion followers on Twitter?
I'm not sure who you're talking about.
The Oriental-looking fellow.
I can't think of his name, but I know who you're talking about.
But you know who I mean? Yeah. You take a picture of him and you post it. It's going to be out there to 1 billion people.
Exactly. Justin Bieber, yeah, that'd probably be out there as well. The next, I want to talk a little bit about Pinterest. Have you heard about Pinterest?
I have, and I'll be honest with you. I keep thinking that I'm going to become involved in it because you have had so much fun with it. I still haven't done it, so I've got to go at home and do it.
Well, Pinterest has been around for a number of years, but in the last 8 to 12 months, it's really exploded. The account usage, the viewership. It is now, I believe, driving more traffic online than, let me get this straight, than YouTube and Google combined. I don't know, it's just amazing. I forget the exact, but it's driving a ton of traffic. The interesting thing about Pinterest is that it's very, very visual. It's not too early to check out. It is a happening thing. So we figure the question is, how do you approach it if you want to use it to, in your event marketing? Actually, events are very visual. I think Pinterest being very visual, it's a good tie-in. Not too early to check out. As I mentioned, it is extremely visual. But what I like about it is a very, very good organizational tool because you can set up a board with a specific topic. If you go to my Trade Show Guy Pinterest page, you will find I think there's a tab there. There's a lot of different tabs there, boards they call them, and one is on trade shows I love. So when I go to a trade show, I post pictures there and just share that way, and they get reshared again. It's one of those things where people follow you. I'm not as active as I am on other platforms like Twitter and Facebook and YouTube, but I'm there once or twice a week, and I'm sharing things. I'm seeing what other people are doing. It is a fascinating venue. I really like it. Again, it's very visual. I would comment, though, that statistics show that usage of people is the demographics is about 70 to 80% female. So it's very woman oriented. There's a lot of stuff that gets shared. There's a lot of fashion that goes on. There's a lot of home, making a house things. There's certainly guys hanging out there, but not nearly to the extent that women are. So if you take that into account, if you're promoting and you have a product or service that relates to women, I would say, Pinterest should pique your interest. How'd you like the way that came out?
Yeah, I did. That was really alliterative. I was impressed.
Okay, so what about having a social media point person? This, I think, is one of the key things when you're going to a trade show. I've seen this happen over and over again, that if you have someone there that is dedicated to doing this, they may be spending other time in your booth not doing that, but if they are going to go and take pictures, post things on all your platforms, they need to be dedicated to it because they know what's going on. They can interact. They can make it very important. So a point person, a social media point person, does things like dedicated tasks. They do things like they coordinate all the efforts. There may be more than one person involved. There may be someone there shooting video, someone's editing it, but this person coordinates all the efforts. And that allows them to have a really good focus on the job, and that allows the outcome to be a whole lot better. So I think if you're going to use social media at a trade show, consider putting someone in charge of it that does nothing but that. or if they do anything else, it's very little. They may be coordinating some part of the booth or something, but if you've got a dedicated social media point person, that's not a bad thing to do. I've seen examples of where companies hired an outside group, like an ad agency, a digital ad agency that knows social media, to go in. They've taken a crew there, 2 or 3 people. They're writing blog posts. They're tweeting. They're shooting video. They're taking pictures. They're posting all that stuff to Flickr and YouTube and all that stuff, so that the company actually doesn't have to worry about that. They've got an outsourced, hired team to do that works hand in hand, so that all that happens. You do your job, and we do our job as the company that comes in and does all the video and the blogging and stuff. So that is something you can consider. But having a point person or a point team to do that, I think, really makes the chances of success in using social media at events a whole lot better.
You've decided to go to the trade show. You've spent $15,000 on your booth. You might as well get as much out of it as you can. And one of the best ways to do that is to involve yourself heavily in social media and have somebody in charge of it.
Exactly. Probably got about 8 or 10 minutes left of this particular portion before we make our pitch, as we mentioned. Staff training is very, very important. Now, I've seen trade show marketing efforts fall on their face when everything else looked great, sounded great, came across great. You've got great graphics. You've got a terrific-looking booth. You have got the great messaging. You've got a great product or a great service. But if you have a staff there that doesn't know how to handle those people that come in, things fall apart. Leads don't get taken. Information doesn't happen. Staff training is probably the most critical. With a well-trained staff, a lot of those other pieces can be kind of missing or not as strong. But if you have a well-trained staff, you're going to nail your trade show. And I think that's probably one of the most important things. If you haven't done a staff training, you should consider it. And I've done it a couple times, but I also have referred a couple of friends of mine who are really good pros on how this works. If a company is willing to step up and hire a pro, boy, it's money well spent. One of my favorite stories I just heard is there was a guy who I talked to about doing a training for one of our clients. He said he was at a big show in Vegas, telecommunications or something, and AT&T hired him to come in and do a training the morning the show started. So he was training 10 or 15 people. He had his microphone on and the loudspeaker and everything in the booth. The morning the show started, before the show started, he was doing this training. Here's how you gather leads. Here's how you interact with people. He did some role playing, and he said after the fact, one of their competitors, Verizon, came over and said, "Oh my God, look what they're doing. They're stepping up big time. They're serious about this." And they're serious, and they had a great show because their staff was prepared. They got trained the minute before the show started.
And don't think that this is like a 3-week offsite course or something like that. This is a couple of hours and can be done the morning of the show, as Steve just told you.
Yeah, I think the important thing is it helps your staff have an overall understanding and buy-in of what is going on there. They understand it from the top to the bottom, what their role is, how all of that works. And there's a lot of social media components that come in this. And so let's say you've got a person there who is doing all your social media, who's doing your tweeting and your Facebook posting and taking pictures and maybe a video or two. If everyone else on the staff knows what's going on and they know this person's doing that, it really helps that whole thing work. They can assist when necessary. They can get out of the way when necessary. So I think staff training about social media is a part of that as well. It fosters better communication between everything. Everyone knows what's happening. Everyone's on the same page. A question comes up. Someone knows how to answer that. So it really makes communication a whole lot better. It also reduces the risk and increases lead generation. When you are in your booth and you've got a well-trained staff, someone comes in and says, "Hey, I'm really interested in this aspect of the product you've got." And if the person is well-trained, you go, "Oh, well, yeah, that's Joe over there. Joe is the guy that knows how to answer that question. Let me get Joe for you. Let me introduce him to you." And therefore, you've made a connection that is very, very important. If the staff trainer or the staff member is not familiar with how to answer that question, well, hang on, so it just doesn't go over very well. So it reduces the risk of losing a possible lead. It increases the lead generation. Staff training is probably one of the most important things you can do. And I mention that in conjunction with social media because if they all know what's going on, especially if your social media person says, "Hey, we're going to tweet out that we're doing a contest through this afternoon," everybody needs to know that. And that's part of the staff training. So they got to get the scheduling down. They got to know what's happening. When people come up to the booth and say, "Hey, I heard the tweet, or I saw the tweet. What do I do now?" They go, "Oh yeah, you want to go see Jill over there? She's got the prize." So staff training is just one of those. So that's number 10. I said 10, didn't I?
You did.
I'd have one more. And this has to do with preparation. And I think preparation, maybe we can call this 10.5. I don't know.
There you go. That's 10.5.
Good. Preparation is really how this all comes together. What you do is when you're working all this, you create a timeline, maybe 3 weeks ahead of the event you are going to go. You know what you have to do. 2 weeks ahead, you know what you have to do. 1 week ahead, you know what you have to do. And 3 days ahead. So creating a timeline, preparation, do this way in advance. This has to do with not only your social media, but of course your booth and the graphics and all that. That usually is much farther ahead. You can the social media activity really doesn't take place in earnest until just a few weeks before, and then it of course is really chaotic during the show, and it's very intense. And then once the show's over, it tapers off. But that's the way shows are. That's why the events really are made for social media and vice versa. Create a timeline, figure out what you're going to do, so when you get there, you're not asking all those questions. Document your plan, write it down, share it with the people that are important to all this, and that really makes it all happen a whole lot better. I think planning is probably the most important thing you can do. So preparation, planning, create that timeline, and then, of course, once you've got it, you know what roadmap to follow. You're executing the plan. So that is it. Somebody wrote, Carl Sagan would be a big get.
Yes, he would, considering that he's no longer amongst the...
He's in outer space, you know.
I just wanted to add one thing, if I
yes,
could.
Yes, by all means.
What social media does, and what staff training does, for that matter, is build enthusiasm. You build enthusiasm in your staff by training them. You build enthusiasm in your customers by using social media, and enthusiasm sells. It's that simple.
It really is. By the way, if you want to jot a question down in the next 5 or 6 minutes while we talk about the membership site, please do that. We'll get to them as soon as we can. And I'm looking at them on my laptop over here, and I've got the computer that in front of me is doing it, which is I'm not seeing the actual.
I'm keeping an eye on it.
You're keeping an eye on it. Okay, so it's actually working pretty well, isn't it?
So far, so good.
So questions, let us know. But in the meantime, we want to answer the question, what is social media event marketing u.com? Well, it's a membership training site for event marketers, and I'll give you a little background on this. I've been blogging, as I mentioned, for 3.5 years at tradeshowguyblog.com. Roger and I, together and apart, have been speaking and writing and training and doing webinars about social media, various aspects of it, the listening part of it, the boot camps. We've done that. We've done in-person things. We've just a lot of stuff with it. And I was doing some research last fall. And I did, I would just put a questionnaire out and through Twitter and through my Facebook page, and get, I think I got 75 to 100 people answer the questions, and I learned some interesting things. And I was asking event professionals in specific what they knew about social media, and it turns out that something like with 80% of people that are in the trade show world and want to market consider themselves beginning or intermediate. So I wanted to put together this membership training site that has a lot of training videos on how to do all this. I thought this is a great way to do that and get people involved, learning on Twitter, Facebook, YouTube, LinkedIn. People learn by video. These videos are 2 to 5 minutes long for the most part. There are some longer form ones, but those are, generally speaking, I put videos on there. There's dozens of videos on this site. I've been building this out, populating it for quite some time now, and it had a soft launch, but then I learned a bunch of stuff, and I kind of pulled it back, and I put some more things in there. And when Laura and I got to talking, I said, "Listen, I got this really cool thing. I'd like to get out in front of people, and maybe we can make this work together." So I've done training videos on using Twitter and Facebook and YouTube. Some of these are real basic. Some of these are more intermediate. Some are advanced. We've got a lot of case studies as well. And the case study ones are fun because, man, I think you learn a lot from case studies. And I think there's probably 10 or 12 on there now, and we're always looking for more of those. We're going to do monthly special features. I've got some in the can, which will be rolling out interviews with people, how to use YouTube for video, some white papers that we're looking at, reports, special reports that no one else has. And so these are the kinds of things you would find if you were involved in the social media event marketing membership training site. It helps you save time. Now, I had a couple people look at this, and one guy commented, kind of snarky. He said, "Well, I can find all this stuff for free on the internet." And I said, "Well, yeah, I guess you could."
But we already have.
Yeah. Do you want to spend hours searching YouTube to find specific information on how to use all the stuff that relates to event marketing. You might find it. Good luck. That's fine. He says, I don't want to pay for it. I said, you don't have to pay for it. You can find it on your own. He may be spending 10 hours a day doing that. I don't know. The goal with the membership site, any membership site, you may bring information in that is available out there. Some of it may be readily available. Some of it is proprietary that no one else has, like interviews that no one else has shared. Like we talk about the special features, expert industry, consultants, those types of things that have been there, done that, case studies that no one else has. So all this is gathered under one umbrella, and it helps you save time trying to find this information. I will tell you that learning social media at a membership site is not a magic bullet. It's a training site, and it gives specific information, invites your questions, and invites your feedback. But it's a lot of fun. This is designed to get you over obstacles to social media in your trade show, event, and conference marketing efforts. It really is. And so that's kind of the whole point of doing a membership site, is that it gathers like-minded people together that are still learning, whether they're at the beginning, they're 6 weeks into it, they're a year into it, still trying to figure stuff out. They say, gosh, I know this stuff. They need to learn more. And maybe even if you're advanced, there might be some things that you would learn from it. So how does this work? Well, what we've done is set up a trial 31-day membership for just $4.95. If you decide to stick around after that, the cost is $47 per month. You also get a one-time 10% discount on any new project through Total Displays on a minimum $500 project. So we've worked that out with Lori over at Total Displays, and we think that's a great deal. So I guess consider this. How much time and effort do you spend in trying to find all this stuff and track it down? How much would it cost to go out and spend the time and find out who those experts are, and go, find a expert down in San Jose that I know that can that talks to these high-tech companies every day and teaches them social media, and his insight into how that works for them is now available for you because we got him on the phone to do a 20 or 30-minute interview that you can now access through this website. How valuable is it for you to be able to come and see how social media works with bringing events together and making all that happen? I mean, if you were to spend a lot of time compiling all this information and tracking it down, what's that labor worth? I mean, when we bill out labor, you bill it out anywhere from 65 to 85 bucks an hour. And if you were to get this for $47 a month, I mean, you look at that in comparison, you think that's actually not bad at all. We looked at price points anywhere from $27 up to $97 a month, $800 a year, and we're just starting this now at $47 per month. You get a 31-day trial membership for just $4.95, and we think that's a pretty good deal, and we're glad to offer it for you. I will tell you that if this thing explodes, we may change that. If it doesn't work, we may change it. But it's a lot of fun. There's a lot of great information there. We're adding more and more every day. We're researching and figuring out what kind of information, and we're taking feedback. You may say, "Gosh, what's this Pinterest thing? How does that work for events?" And well, let's put together a video on what we know about that, because we can find that out. We'll just share what we know, and we'll find more information. I love doing research. I love learning about this stuff. I love playing with this stuff. Roger and I sit there and we chew the fat on all this stuff all the time. It's just a lot of fun. So the offer is the membership site, 31-day trial membership for $4.95. If at the end of 31 days you say, yeah, not for me, you just quit. And we're fine. We're friends, and you go your own way. And if you say, I like this, I want to stick around, then your credit card would be billed for $47 per month. So this is how it works. If you put this in your URL browser on your computer, tradeshowguyblog.com/total displays, you get a special offer there. There's a short video there. I think it's 3 minutes long, maybe 3 minutes 30 seconds or something. That gives you a brief explanation of what it is. And I think there's actually an off-page to get a one-time membership that is just the basic videos, not the intermediate, not the advanced, not the special features. I believe we've done that, and I think that's $27. Didn't want to make a big deal out of it, but that might be another way for you to check out what it's all about. But just go to tradeshowguyblog.com/total displays. And I haven't seen any questions pop up.
I've been looking.
I think we had about 20 or so attendees, and I appreciate your time. This has been a lot of fun. And if you want to get a hold of us, it's Tim at tradeshowguyblog.com, and we'll be glad to answer any questions. Roger, any closing notes there?
I have. It's just been a pleasure to have done this.
It's good to be back behind the seat doing a webinar, and I appreciate. Thank you again to Lori Hankin at Total Displays in Bloomington, Minnesota. Good luck with all your future endeavors over there. We'll talk soon, and we will close this down now. But don't forget, go check out the offer. We think it's a good one. It's at tradeshowguyblog.com, Total Displays /Total Displays.